This is Luetin and welcome to my review and overview of Arma 3, which is released this week. First off, just to outline, Arma itself is a sandbox tactical sim. Some people even dislike attaching the term FPS to it because you have the option to play in both first and third person views. It places you in the virtual worlds of Stratus and Altis, both of which are modelled on real world locations, and Altis makes up an area of some 270 square kilometres. When entering the game, expect a completely different style of gameplay than your average shooters, as Arma features default high weapon damage, a slow pace, typically long range weapon engagements, and a high level of technical detail, as well as vast modding options, a full day to night cycle and a large range of vehicles for you to choose from. Now, I was a new player to Arma this year, and so I hope to give you a bit of an unbiased perspective on the game than you might get from someone who has been, for example, playing Arma 2 for, a really long time, or caught up with the DayZ phenomena. So before we get into the details of the release itself, let's just roll back a few months to the Arma 3 beta, and my very first steps into the game, which you might be taking soon if you plan to purchase but have no experience with the game whatsoever. Entering a new game can be intimidating, especially with something like Arma, which, let's not be in any doubt, is very complex when it comes to a tactical shooter. The amount of commands and details forges a steep learning curve. Unfortunately, Bohemia give you plenty of support when it comes to learning the game in the form of showcase tutorials, which are fun as well as informative. There's also a detailed manual in-game covering every aspect from weapon setups to complex command systems. However, we know that's not what an experienced player does, right? I've played shooters before, how hard could it be? And I said this to myself as I launched into the multiplayer beta on day one of picking up the game. How wrong I was. Arma 3, it plays out so differently, but taking the time to learn all of those elements in game is as rewarding as it is arduous. One of the key moments though that bonded me to the title were these first steps into the game and the multiplayer. Arma 3 features in-game voice over network communication, and this means that if you have a mic then you can easily communicate with any other players in the server. The communication system breaks down as well into channels for your squad, your current vehicle and its passengers, for commanders, for local communication and server-wide. And it was through this system that gave me the encounter that started me off seeing the kind of players that make Arma 3 such an excellent game. As many people have observed, the apparent quality of players in online multiplayer seems to have degraded in the past months, leading many players to come to the conclusion that the only way they can find gameplay worth spending any time on will be in private servers or organised competitive situations. In Arma 3, whilst there is no doubt troublemakers as you would find in any game, there is a far greater amount of players who are willing to not only work together but actively to help new players to this series, and understand what it is they are meant to be doing and where they should be going to. Now, on my first day in the game, I found a random player that I'd never spoken to before who was happy to then sit down and spend an hour hand-holding me through the first steps of exactly what the hell it was I was supposed to be doing. And this was not an isolated episode. I have found this to be genuinely a continuing trend amongst the Arma community, that players are helpful, respectful and work hard for the objectives in the game. So then, what do you get with the game itself? Well, you have the initial 12 equipment showcases which demo everything from infantry to scuba, helicopters, tanks, drones, and then you've also got 3 faction showcases. There are 10 firing drill challenges designed to test your gunplay skills, and there are 3 campaign missions, Survive, Adapt and Win, which at release are soon to be available through Steam. One of the best and main aspects of Arma 3 are the user-made scenarios, and at release you'll find plenty of these available, ready, made and in the Steam Arma workshop, which can be accessed in-game. These give you an expansive, endless supply of single-player missions for you to complete, and this connects me to the editor, which, as with previous Arma titles, is extremely detailed and comprehensive, giving players the opportunity to create missions that can be as detailed as your imagination and time will allow. You can then post them on Steam for other people to download and play. The editor is also an excellent tool for learning how to play the game, giving you a safe environment to test or practice your skills in any discipline. The game also has extensive mod support, which when combined with the mission editor gives powerful tools to players and the community at large. Then we come to the multiplayer, which more and more, as with many games, becomes the core focus of the title. Now, the game comes with 9 multiplayer scenarios, but additionally you'll be able to play user created missions such as the amazing Invade Annex created by Rarek of Ahoyworld, along with others such as Wasteland, Project Reality, many more. An important note to make though is that unlike many other titles, most of the user multiplayer missions you'll participate in will be cooperative, meaning you play together as a team against AI to complete objectives. Now, this doesn't sound fantastic, but it is actually what makes Arma so enjoyable, and to begin with I wasn't sure of this myself. I was like, really? We'll play against AI? But no, it actually really works very well. And the reason for this is that for one thing, it stands it apart from other titles in what is a very oversaturated genre. The very fact that you have to work together against AI means it requires strong team play, coordination, communication, and all the elements that attract players to a title like Arma, including its vastly slower pace of gameplay. It's not unusual for you to spend 20 or 30 minutes just travelling from your base to the objective via boat, helicopter or land, and then you'll reach your insertion point where you tab on foot to the objective area. So that time that you move there is quite long, but it's just as enjoyable as anything else because it's part of the whole experience. Now when it comes to AI, this is one area that I do feel could use some improvement. The AI can be punishing, but also vastly stupid at the same time. They'll often stand out in the open and take round after round of hits, apparently with little care. However, on other times they'll turn and hit you straight between the eyes before you could even zero your sights on their position. This inconsistency is something that can really devalue the sense of reality in the game, and also can make for some frustrating encounters. There are times when enemy will run for cover or hit the deck. When they're taking fire, other times though, they'll just stand there like statues, so it's definitely something that needs to be worked on. But this honestly doesn't devalue from the experience greatly, and playing against the AI really does require care, because remember, the damage values in Arma are extremely high. A full magazine to drop a player? Think more like 1 to 2 carefully aimed bullets at any range. Just to mention one other criticism, and that is the optimization. Now there's always going to be a few problems when you're trying to play in a world of some 270 square kilometers, but one thing that has been voiced very recently is the drop in frame rates in some of the multiplayer games. This week playing on Altis, running in Ultra, I would get frames of between 60 to 120 when I was out on missions, but when returning to the higher traffic areas or the spawn, or anywhere where you have to sort of, view a lot all at the same time, it could drop down to sort of 20 FPS. And we're not talking about sort of density of things happening. It's more the fact that you're looking at long ranges. In fact, they've said that you're looking to render as much as 4 kilometers in the distance in game, so that you can actually engage at the long ranges that were happening there. So that is affecting the frame rates. Now, hopefully, this is something that can be improved with some driver updates, but currently it can make some encounters less enjoyable than they could be. There are many detailed features in Arma 3, and more than can be mentioned in a single overview. There are just way too many details and elements to cover, from stance to zeroing the sights of your weapon, calling for pickup, designating areas, setting explosives, sniping, stealth, mortars, so much more. And it's this vast detailing that makes Arma such a great title. It can be at first baffling, but then it's like intriguing, what you want to get into the game, and then finally it's so fully immersive, once you know everything that's happening and you can just go from mission to mission, player, objective, moving around the map. It will capture your mind and your imagination and provide you with literally endless new gameplay, each mission single or multiplayer different from the next. There are wide-ranging roles for you to play, from a helicopter pilot to squad commander, special forces, stealth team and attack boat support. The best part of Arma for me though is its pacing. Such an important and often overlooked detail for games is the speed at which missions play out. It's what stands it apart from other titles and what brings you back for more. Be in no doubt, this is a slow-paced game. It takes time to set up, to reach your objectives, and then to carefully complete them. Reckless run and gun styles will only serve to get you killed, and coordinated team play is the core focus. So my final verdict on Arma 3 is to give the game 7 out of 10. It's a brilliant and vastly detailed experience and will appeal to those players looking for a more serious experience. But the user-created and modding support gives the ability to create unique scenarios for players who just want those crazy moments, as well as let's not forget that DayZ would not exist if it were not for Arma 2, and I'm sure that something equally huge is going to come out of Arma 3. Arma 3 really does give you something different, and in a world of arguably cloned and reskinned shooters, there is a lot to be said for that. I'll have a lot more content coming out on the official release of Arma 3 this week, and I will shout out whenever I'm available to play via Twitter, so be sure to follow me at Luetin09, as well as streaming gameplay on twitch.tv/Luetin. As always guys, drop your thoughts below. What are you most excited about for Arma 3? Is it the campaigns, the multiplayer gameplay, the user created missions? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for some more Arma 3.